I pulled out a few cards from the Healers of the Earth Oracle, which I really love, by Mandy Peterson. And I pulled out some cards that sort of tell the story, not everyone's story, but what it's kind of like to be in a narcissistic, especially a spiritual and covert narcissistic relationship, because like you're under that spiritual umbrella and they say the right things. They have the right practices, the right interests. You have these things in common, so it must be, and you have that soulmate twin flame feeling, which I think confuses a lot of people, because a lot of narcissists are players, and players give off the vibe that they are your twin flame because they're so good at matching you, which is part of the manipulation of some. They match you. And you think this is the one. And there's another reason why people glom onto that. They're like, no, this is my twin flame, my soulmate. There's no one else for me. He or she gets me. This is it. And so that confuses us too, right? And it's covert because on the surface, they're like doing all the right things and saying the right things. But then there's those little jabs underneath. So I have this little story I made with these cards because I pictured some of these cards as I was thinking about it. So it starts out, and this can be a relationship, a friend, a spiritual guru, even a family member, but that's a little trickier to follow the pattern because you're born into it, right? So they put a spell on you, and the relationship gets intense. It gets passionate, and you're sucked in. And then there's some challenges and you're like, oh, this is just a bumpy spot in the road. We're braving the storm. You, as the non-narcissist, hopefully, are like, you cling to your ethics. You're staying loyal. You're focusing on the positive, staying on the high road. You're doing the right thing. And then you work to find a balance, but you're always walking a tightrope on your tippy toes. Or as I often used to say, it's like I was walking on eggshells all the time. And then things start to get very confusing. Cloud formations, clouded thoughts. And then you're on this repeated pattern, round and round you go. Aimlessness is a good word there. Like, you're like, where are we going? It's the same pattern. It's over and over. And you're so caught in it. It's like a carousel spinning round really fast. And then we have another carousel here. Shaky foundation. You feel alone. They cut you off to lacking support. Narcissists will do their best to cut you off. They'll tell other people the shit they make about you to make them question you. They'll make you leave friends, cut other people out, telling you lies about them to make you cut them out. And just to survive, you start to feel numb. You go numb, you stop dying, you can dissociate because it's just so much and you're lost and confused. Then we have the unretrieved soul. Yeah, you feel lost. You don't know who you are. You don't know where you are. You may, out of body, some people, get lost in drugs. Addiction comes in to just as a coping mechanism. That's when it gets really extreme. Or if the narcissist has addictions too. And then this is the card I used for announcement, toxic, radiotoxic. You realize you're in a toxic environment. You realize you're with an emotional vampire or vampires, because sometimes people realize a whole bunch of people they are like this. And it's like you realize, oh, it's not all me. And I say it that way because, we're still part of the relationship. So there's our own stuff to work on, especially if someone is codependent, because that has other issues itself. And we realize we're caught in a web of manipulation. And then what do? We have to figure out how to get out of the web. So that is a great little summary of how the story goes. And that can occur over months, over years. Some people are in a relationship for a lifetime, especially if it's like a parent. They're in that dynamic. And it's only when you get to this point where you're like, oh, poopy, I'm caught in a web. Now what do I do?